Basketball season is officially in full swing with the SEC play starting up last week. Both the men and women started off strong and both upsettingly fell short to Auburn this past weekend. Tonight, Coach Matt McMahon's Tigers will be back on the court against the number 22 ranked Ole Miss Rebels inside the PMAC at 6 p.m. and on the SEC Network. And after enduring their first loss in 16 games this past weekend, the number 10 ranked Lady Tigers will be going up against the Crimson Tide tomorrow night at 8 p.m. For this episode, I'll be bringing on Sheldon Mickles, who covers basketball for The Advocate, to sit down with the news and sports director of the Louisiana Radio Network, Jeff Palermo, along with the assistant editor of Tiger Rag, William Weathers, to talk about this LSU and Ole Miss game tonight. And then I'll be bringing William back on with me to give a preview of the women's basketball game on Thursday night. Before we jump into that, let's hear a message from one of our sponsors.
The East Baton Rouge Library says this is the year to invest in you. The library brings value by connecting you to information, resources, materials, technology, and experiences. We make a positive difference in your life. All you need is your library card. Stop by one of our 14 locations, open 7 days a week, or find us online at ebrpl.com.
After a tough 93-78 loss against the number 16 ranked Auburn Tigers, all is not lost for this LSU team. And yeah, they didn't play well for long spurts of the game, but they clearly didn't give up and they showed fight and came back from a 28-point deficit. If LSU wins, this will be Coach Matt McMahon's first win over a ranked team since he came to LSU. Before the Auburn game, LSU was unbeaten in the SEC and had shown massive improvement over the past month from earlier in the season. A loss against a highly ranked Auburn team in a hostile environment isn't cause for a major concern for LSU fans unless they have a hangover from this past game. Trey Hannibal and Jordan Wright both led LSU with 18 points each, with Willie Baker adding 13 points and Tyrell Ward scoring 12 points. LSU finished the game at 42.4%, with 9 of 23 from distance. LSU made 19 of 25 from the free throw line for 76%. Auburn finished the game at 45.9%, 10 of 25 from distance, and a very good 27 of 31 at the free throw line. The teams were about even in points in the paint at 32-30 in favor of Auburn. Now I'll be bringing on Jeff, William, and Sheldon Mickles to talk about this LSU Ole Miss game.
Sheldon Mickles, who covers the Tigers for the Baton Rouge Advocate, joins us now. Sheldon, thanks a lot for spending a few minutes with us. Jeff Palermo, along with the assistant editor for Tiger Rag Magazine, William Weathers. How you doing on this frosty night?
I'm doing fine. Just trying to stay warm and watch the fireplace and watch a little TV and no football today, so got to go with basketball tonight.
Yeah. Tough night for the LSU Tigers on Saturday. Was this to be expected a little bit, though, Sheldon? Obviously, two good wins to start off league play, but Auburn's a different animal, and you're going on the road. You're going into a hostile environment, and it's a team that can run you out of the gym pretty quickly, and that's, for the most part, I know LSU was in there tight with about 5 minutes or so to go before halftime, but once Auburn got going, LSU really didn't have an answer for them.
Well, A&M, I thought at A&M they did very well in the first half, and I thought they had a very good chance to win that game at halftime. And then they beat Vanderbilt, and then you felt good about their 2-0 start, but I thought Auburn was going to be a bear of a game to win. They were ranked 16th in the nation going into the game. Now they ranked 13th, but they have several big guns back. Obviously, Jalen Williams and Jani Broom are their top. Jani Broom is a returning All SEC player, so you knew it was going to be a struggle, especially playing in that arena. I mean, that place is so cozy and 9,100 people are just stacked on top of you, and it gets very loud. And no excuses. I just thought Auburn, obviously Auburn's a better team. They top 10 in the nation, and then in net ranking, and they have all the guns. And Matt McMahon, he wasn't making excuses the other night. He said that team he thinks can make a Final Four run.
Wow. Sheldon, I thought what was impressive that LSU was able to cut down a 28-point deficit to 8 points with basically Jalen Cook sitting on the bench. So, credit to Trey Hannibal, who's not been a big scorer this season, that really was a kind of engineered that comeback, and they put themselves in position to make it a game.
Yeah, Trey Hannibal is a guy he trusts and he likes a lot. He's kind of had an up and down season. He's plugged in, played some minutes. One game he didn't play because of coach's decision. And that's one thing that Matt McMahon is really a stickler for. If a guy's not competing in practice and doing what he's supposed to do in practice, he's going to lose his minutes. He's going to get his minutes cut. And you saw Jalen Cook get his minutes cut the other night. He had 5 turnovers. And I talked to Matt last night after his radio show, and he said, look, the kid is in fine shape. He's going to be fine. He said they just wanted to plug in Trey the other day, and he said when they started making that run, 11.5-minute mark, he said he wasn't going to take him out. He wasn't going to take Trey Hannibal out. So Jalen, played only 4 minutes in the second half, but he's not giving up on him for sure. And he said everybody's going to have an off day. It's just one of those things. And when you look at it, he had 5 turnovers, no assists, very uncharacteristic of Jalen Cook. So, he thinks he'll bounce back. And tomorrow night, against Ole Miss would be a good day to do it, a good night to do it. They have 3 guards who average 17-3 a game. That's Matthew Murrell, who's also an all-SEC player. Alan Finnegan is averaging 16-3. And their third guard, Jalen Murray is averaging 14-1, I believe. So 3 very active guards, in the Ole Miss rotation in the starting lineup. So he's going to have a good game tomorrow night, as well as, Jordan Wright, who's been playing very well. He has 13 straight double-digit games. And Trey Hannibal, if he has to come off the bench. Mike Williams has had his ups and downs, a little bit, which is you could expect from a true freshman. So, but they're going to need a lot of backcourt help tomorrow night to beat Ole Miss.
Chris Beard has really made a quick impact there, hadn't he, with Ole Miss's team?
Yes, he has. And a lot of people thought that, that he was going to come in and have a pretty good impact. And, Matthew Murrell stayed around, and, there's not a whole lot of those players left from last year's Ole Miss team. But Matthew Murrell was a linchpin, obviously. And then he got Alan Flanagan out of Auburn because, Alan's dad is on the Ole Miss staff, Wes Flanagan. So he came over to go with Chris Beard, who he's known for years, and he went to work for Chris Beard, and they were able to get Alan Flanagan over there, Jalen Murray, it escapes me where he came from. I think he's a transfer also. And then he's got Musa Cisse, who LSU fans are still gnashing their teeth over that they couldn't get him several years ago. He's been to about 4 different schools, but he's there. And then, so he's done a really good job. And a lot of people, the guy is a really good coach. He did some good things at Little Rock. He did some good things at Texas Tech. He went to Texas, and he just, ran into some trouble and wound up at Ole Miss this year. And he's doing a very fine job, obviously.
It certainly is. Sheldon, thanks a lot for your time, giving us a little information here on LSU men's hoops. We'll talk to you again here soon.
Last Sunday, the Lady Tigers suffered a 76-62 loss against the Auburn Tigers. With 10 seconds remaining in the game, Coach Kim Mulkey put in All-American forward Angel Reese to try and tie the game. Reese took the ball out high, and as she began her drive to the goal, Auburn's Jemiah Mingo-Young stripped Reese a couple feet from the basket in the paint. Reese produced her 10th double-double of the season with a game-high 24 points and 11 rebounds. The Tigers, who lead the nation in scoring at 93-plus points, received 12 points apiece from Anissa Morrow, who had a game-high 15 rebounds, and Flau'jae Johnson. We saw a season low from freshman Michaela Williams, who only scored 7 points. LSU wasn't able to complement the play of Reese and Morrow from the perimeter. The guard trio of Michaela Williams, Haley Van Lith, and Lastir Poa combined for 12 points on 4 of 19 shooting. The Tigers, who played 8 players, had their bench outscore 17-4. LSU made 61% of its shots in the second quarter, and Morrow scored 8 points, and Reese added 6 before picking up her second foul and sitting out the last minute and 39 seconds. To deep dive into what all of this means and what this specifically means regarding the ladies' game this Thursday against Alabama, let's go to William. Hey, how you doing today, William?
I'm doing good. Staying warm.
Staying warm? Okay, so I have a few questions. LSU came into this Auburn game riding a 16-game winning streak and having not lost any games in the SEC. What the heck happened for LSU to lose to an unranked team?
I'm going to give probably a little bit more credit to the home team. Auburn really came out and defended really well, made it hard on LSU to initiate their offense. And conversely, LSU has been, and Coach Mulkey's been kind of adamant about this as we've gone along, that their defense had to improve. And Auburn exposed them some more. So combination that the home team played well, LSU did not play pretty well. They deserve all the credit being Auburn, and that LSU will regroup going into Thursday night's game at Alabama, which is another good road test for them as well.
Okay, and like you said, I know Kim Mulkey, she kind of said that Auburn just had more effort overall, and her team, you know, they had better defensive energy, better lateral movements throughout the game. Why do you think this happened with Auburn against LSU? Like, why do you think LSU was out-efforted, if that's a word I can say?
It's something that happened in Game 1 against Colorado, and then obviously they got exposed with a team that was a little more hungrier and a little more probably the energy level. That's on LSU. That is not. It's almost under her. It's non-negotiable. Effort, energy, enthusiasm, all the things that you need. You know, it's a sold-out crowd. It's in part because LSU's in town. This show, and Auburn rose up to the occasion. You know, they had a couple of. You know, they were 0-3 as you mentioned going into the game, and had not been. They were competitive in 2 of the 3. They're athletic in spots, but absolutely LSU should never have another team show them about what effort looks like, what it looks like to, which cost them late in the game. Auburn got a couple of loose offensive rebounds to keep possessions going, you know, to bleed the clock a little more. That's all effort, and you know, she didn't, you know, again, she missed her Kim missed her post-game radio show. She was at least in the locker room for 45 minutes. I assume a lot of that was addressed behind closed doors because she commended Auburn for their effort. She didn't throw her team under the bus, but you can imagine the subject matter about effort. You know, why did we lose today? You know, she's kind of specifically talking to the 6 or 7 or 8 that played. And, you know, other than Angel Reese, you'd have a hard time believing that anybody really showed up and gave all their effort and played well.
So you would say that it was kind of similar to like what we saw with Game 1. Colorado was just hungrier. They had something to prove. You think maybe Auburn was feeling that same sort of emotion throughout the game, something to prove, packed stadium, everybody trying to watch LSU, and they just wanted to show that they were the better Tiger in the situation? This
is the life of the defending national champion. And if you didn't already get their best shot before, you know, you're LSU, you've got a Hall of Fame coach, you're on an incline last year. When you win it all, now that effort, the other team you're going to get will be doubled, and it's no question. They are, they've got 2 of the most recognizable players in the country. They purport themselves as the show. You know, they're selling out arenas at Coppin, in Auburn, and Ole Miss. They're averaging 2,000 and 3,000 fans, and LSU shows up. And in this case, LSU did not show up and give their best. So this is all part, you know, God forbid, is it a sense of some sort of complacency? You've already climbed that mountain. Hey, those teams were in the position you were in a year ago. You had that hunger. You had that will. You can't let the game be more important to your opponent than it is to you. And these are things that we can use as an example that came out of Sunday. And hopefully will get fixed, or they'll be coming home from Alabama again with another loss.
So going on with the effort that LSU and the hunger that LSU players need to continuously be bringing to the table every single week, what other changes do you think they need to make going into this Alabama game? LSU consistently is only playing 6 players. Do they need more depth in their rotation? How much does depth play a role in this?
I think it's, this is only game 4 of a 16-game schedule. So at this rate, it's going to definitely catch up. And you could probably use an example that it probably cost them its spots. Janae Kent played a little bit off the bench, which was a new face to see, and she scored 2, played a little bit. Aaliyah Del Rosario didn't play a lot, and Angelica Velez didn't play at all. Coach Mulkey talks about you earning that right to play in a game at practice. I have to trust you, so obviously to carry out whatever the offensive assignments or play are. Defensively, they don't. It's pretty much man to man. They might do a little bit of pressing sometimes, and I guess she's not seeing in practice that those girls, can transition into a game and give them meaningful minutes. So she's only going, as you mentioned, with the outside of Poa, and then Leah played a little bit. That rotation, going forward has to expand. And it only expands as she feels the trust that you build in practice, and she's not seeing that right now.
So how overall do you see this game playing out against Alabama come Thursday night?
Alabama is a little bit different cat in terms of they're not as athletic overall. They rely more on the three-point shot, and they do slow it down. They do like to kind of play good defense. I'm going to assume that the leadership on LSU's team will not kind of persist. Like we're putting our foot down, and it starts on the defensive end. It starts with Haley Van Lith at the point, and then at each position. I looked at this briefly yesterday. They're like 7, 8, 9 in the conference in like scoring defense and things of that nature. With obviously LSU. The first 2 years are in the top 2 or 3. So scoring defense, scoring percentage, field goal percentage defense. They're they turned it over a little bit last time, but the effort starts on the defensive end and on the rebounds.
So you think if Kim Mulkey's talking to them, if she had a come to Jesus meeting with that team after their last game, you think their effort, if all of it's there, it should be not smooth. I'm not going to say smooth sailing, but it should be an LSU win Thursday night against Alabama.
I would expect them to react in a positive way. Alabama can play well, but LSU, their effort, their level of play cannot go below. So if they come out and play well, they just have to play better, give better effort, rebound the ball. The combination like Michaela last year, Poa, Haley Van Lith, they really gave them nothing. So Angel was really the only scoring source, and then Morrow gave them a little bit. But they have to when they're successful, all 5 girls are scoring in double figures, and obviously they're playing better on the defensive end, and that has to improve because they're a man-to-man team. They do give help. And that's going to have to improve first because here we are, Alabama, Arkansas, which is really good offensively, and a week from Thursday, here comes number 1 South Carolina to town. So you're getting into a pretty good portion of your schedule where you have to show some improvement.
It's your time to move things forward. U.S. Army Reserve.
All right, that's it for today's episode. The men's basketball team will be playing tonight against Ole Miss at 6 p.m. inside the PMAC and on the SEC network. and the Lady Tigers will be hitting the court this Thursday at 8 p.m. in Tuscaloosa and also on the SEC Network. Stay tuned in with TigerRag.com for more LSU sports-related news, and I'll be back later this week with more Tiger sports updates.